Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Guitar Souls podcast. This is episode number I don't know. I wasn't prepared enough to look. And I'm one of your hosts, Mr. Levi Clay, and I'm here with my good friend, Mr. Mike McLaughlin. How's it going, buddy?
Surviving, bro. And you?
Yeah, let's address the elephant in the room. Something looks different.
It's almost like we went back in time by about 12 months.
Yeah.
Except the backgrounds are a wee bit different.
Yeah, because you've moved house, of course.
I've moved into a haunted house, that's why you can't see behind me. It's all the ghosts in the room. We're having a bit of a party. They've been inconsiderate bastards, but we'll leave that where it is.
So the story is I came into contact with somebody that ended up testing positive for COVID. I took lateral flow tests and had negative results. Went to visit a friend, took another lateral flow test the next day and tested positive. So have had booked a PCR test. I've been off for a PCR test. I'm isolating whilst waiting for results of that to come through because, be as responsible as you can and all of that good stuff. But that's fun. So, sometimes something like this might happen because this is the new world that we live in. Absolutely bloody fantastic times.
It's a dream come true. Also, I think it might be episode 122.
Something like that, yeah.
I'm pretty sure you said 121.
Sure. No, I said I have no idea what episode it is because I'm absolutely no idea.
I'm saying like last time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so I'm always going to get that wrong.
So Levi's had a unfortunate run-in with the COVID monster, and I have been unlucky enough to feel as if I have been too. Since getting my Jag last week, I have been the most run-down I've ever been in my life.
Yeah.
Levi can attest to the fact that I drink a lot of caffeine, as most of you can too. Going by every single episode, having every single can of Monster you can imagine.
Yeah.
But no amount of caffeine is rousing me to do anything. I slept 15 hours one day and then 12 hours the next, and I have just been zapped of energy.
Sure.
Today I felt a bit better, so we get the rest of the furniture moved up, and it fucking floored me. As I was telling you, Levi, like I had to lie down for a good 5-10 minutes, just like flat out at the top of the stairs, just reconsidering whether I'm dying or not. I also went for a test. I went for a walk-in test. There's an asymptomatic walk-in clinic nearby, so just as a matter of ticking that one off the box, I went there, and the good news is no COVID.
It's funny though, isn't it? Because I think you'd probably agree with me if I said right now, listening to the two of us, you sound more shot than I do.
I probably feel more shot than you do.
Yeah, because ultimately the reason
Strange.
after having lots of negative lateral flow tests, the reason I took a further one is because I felt kind of a little bit fluey, just a tiny bit. I didn't feel 100% my normal self. It didn't take anything out of me. I was still around doing my things, but I was like, let's be responsible. Thing that's really interesting is Melissa has just consistently tested negative, so I think it's entirely possible that I'm absolutely fine. But we shall see. I think being responsible is kind of important, so everybody should be as responsible as you possibly can. And obviously I'm in a lucky position in that I can isolate, and it doesn't hurt the business all that much. It doesn't hurt the business at all. So I appreciate that it's probably going to be difficult for a lot of other people, but hopefully we're here giving a good role model for you guys to look up to. Be a little bit more like us, maybe. Or actually, no, definitely be a lot less like us.
I'm not a role model. I'm probably like a good example of what not to do, like a warning story.
Yeah.
No, I'm only kidding. I'm not terrible. But.
So a few things to talk about today, and I do mean a few things to talk about today. It's going to be a relatively short show, but we're going to get real juicy in with the Dimebag Daryl stuff, but that will be the main story. First thing I want to say is I would recommend everybody head on over to Buy Me a Coffee. We put the latest bonus episode up where we listened to, obviously we announced we were going to do this, and we probably should have done it before we did the show last time because then we could have talked about how good it was. It was so good. It was so much fun, and really impressively, Mike managed to play most of the album, really just most of the album along with it. So much so that we got lots of copyright claims on it for playing covers.
I'll take that as a compliment.
Yeah.
I will take that as a compliment.
I think it's one thing to remember riffs, but you solos and everything, you just had so much of that album remembered. It was genuinely very impressive.
I have not played that in quite some time.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to start going back to the classics before you challenge me with another one.
Yeah, we have had got good feedback on that. People said that it was good fun and they'd love to see us do Rust in Peace. So,
oh yes, let's do it.
Yeah,
I know a lot of the riffs on that. There's 2 or 3 songs that are just no.
Yeah,
just no. You know one song that I've never learnt off Lucretia that I really need to get round to doing? Off Rust in Peace, Lucretia.
You're going to say that, yeah.
I've never ever learnt it. I always hear Craig playing it at jams, and I'm like, fucking Wish I could do that.
Yeah, it's a classic. So there's that. The other thing that I wanted to announce, he reached out to us. Phil Cross reached out to us, or reached out to me while the show was streaming last episode.
Mm-hmm.
And he wanted to know whether or not he was allowed to spoil something, because he wanted to spoil it himself in the chat.
Okay.
And I'm like, of course, mate. If you want to say something, by all means, say something. You've done all of this of your own accord, mate. So that I have nothing to do with this. I mean, I have something to do with this. But Phil Cross would like to announce that he's working on a GS6 Guitar Souls signature model.
He's a madman, isn't he?
He's a madman in the sense that I don't know what liaising you've done with him on it, but I've done some basic liaising with him, and it's usually him asking like, what sort of things do you like? What sort of things do you not like?
I can only imagine this will be the weirdest guitar, something that you could easily go and play some nice classic country on, and then whap out some slam riffs on. I'm quite concerned, but in a good way.
Absolutely.
No, I've seen some of Phil's work, and it's fucking beautiful, man. He has actually, we could play it in the show a few weeks ago.
Yeah,
and that'd be class.
Good. One other thing. This bad boy showed up.
Show off bastard. What a week for you, man.
Tell me about it. It's
got COVID, got 2 guitars.
Yeah. It's stunning. Like it's truly, absolutely, truly stunning. I posted on Instagram and said that I was actually quite annoyed with them in general, because I feel that it took a little bit too long, and I'm now looking at a kind of it's just natural grain in there. I thought that was a crack there. That would be a disaster. Yeah, I was kind of annoyed in how long this took, because I think I was initially quoted 10 months and it ended up taking 14, and communication was quite poor. So there was very much a case of, well, when this shows up, I don't think I'll ever order another one. Then it showed up and I played it, and I was just like, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, these are worth the wait.
Yes, you bad liar. Bad liar.
Nice guitar. Nice to add more guitars to the collection. Though worth pointing out that I've sold one in order to make room for it. So the blue Regis is going.
Regis?
Yeah, so... Such is life. On the note of guitars, did you know? This show is brought to you by our friends over at Ormsby Guitars. We want to remind you guys that there is still time to get involved in the upcoming Run 16 guitars. Those include these incredible hypes available in 5 new colours. That Dragon Burst is absolutely stunning. You can also get your hands on one of the Metal X's, again available in a range of finishes. My personal pick has to be these headless Vs, absolutely outrageously cool. Imagine one of those in an 8-string. I absolutely love these. And finally, the Ando San signature model, available in 6, 7 and 8-string availability. Go and check them out at Ormsby's website right now. This show is also brought to you by our friends over at Rev Amplification, a one-stop shop for all of your tonal needs. Head on over to their website to check out their range of lunchbox amplifiers, both the D20 and G20, 20-watt amplifiers with built-in 2-notes torpedo technology, so you can record direct into your computer. If that doesn't suit, you can also check out one of their highly popular G2, 3 and 4 pedals, giving you that trademark Rev tone in a stomp box. Incredible tones. I use these myself. And finally, you may notice in the back of these videos a Rev Generator 120, an absolute masterclass in modern electric guitar tones. Check it out at their site now. So as always, a huge thanks to our friends and family over at both Ormsby Guitars and Rev Amplification, and our friends over at VPix. Please do go and check them out. They stick with us through thick and thin, through illness, through sickness. It's like a marriage, really. Sickness and health. For richer, for poorer. It's constantly poorer.
Aye, for them.
Yeah, we're definitely richer for it, but they're like, damn, why do we still keep supporting these assholes?
But we're Guitar Souls, but we appreciate it, obviously.
Yeah, and hopefully you guys appreciate it too, because I'm not going to say that we wouldn't be able to do the show without them, but of course I think that without that, I don't think we would do the show. We would, because we did the show for a long time with no sponsors, but it was sporadic, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It was when we could find time. So
I meant more the support, not the, we wouldn't do it if we didn't have sponsors.
Sure, yeah.
Sorry, I made that sound as if I'm just like, no, corporate whore, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of content today, we do have one bit of fan mail, but it pertains to the Dimebag lawsuit, so we are going to bring that up when we get to the Dimebag story. Other than that, we have 2 other stories that we're going to talk about today, and one of them pertains to the last episode. So some of you may remember a couple of episodes ago when we did the Alcatraz story, and Mike listened to the new single and we played the video, but muted all the audio, and we got copyright claimed for that. And that bugs me, of course, because the idea behind this show is it's supported on Buy Me a Coffee, and it's supported on by sponsors, and therefore we don't want to run ads on the show. But also, of course, because this show is mine and Mike's, it would feel really, really wrong to run ads on it on YouTube, because there'd be no real way of me being able to account for how much revenue the specific videos have made. So that, yeah, from an accounting perspective, it's just not a good thing either. So no ads on this show ever. So when Alcatraz's label claimed that video, that really pissed me off, because ads were going to run on it. And the same thing happened last episode with The Darkness. They claimed our video, or Orchard Music claimed our video. Which, how do you feel about that?
Oh, conflicted, man, because I do get it, but at the same time, what a fucking hill to die on. Stupid hill to die on. It goes back to the usual: if you don't defend it, you lose your rights in some degree, but...
Well, yes and no. That applies to trademarks. You have to protect your trademarks, whereas this is copyright, which is...
Sorry, copyright.
Which is slightly different, but...
But let me explain better.
Sure.
Obviously, there's artists who've worked on those videos. I mean, the Darkness one, that's probably questionable. It's probably been a webcam at home and somebody's been paid to edit it. But
yeah.
There are probably financial factors involved in that would see why Orchard Music would claim stuff. Because I've put videos up of Party Can and stuff, and it's been claimed by Orchard Music, and the first thing I did was, what the fuck? And then I realised that's who Carlos, that runs Gorehouse, uses. So It was claimed appropriately.
Sure.
Which is fine. So that's a different story. But I don't know, it just seems a bit overbearing.
Yeah, it's probably worth pointing out, like, don't get me wrong, guys, I fully understand the legalities of the situation. When it comes to the song and the music video, the audio is owned, but so is the video. And they're two separate things, you know. The song is its own copyright. The video is also its own copyright. Mm-hmm. So by using the video, we are kind of using someone else's copyrighted material. Like, I'm not even going to pretend that that's not the case.
But it's supposed to be transformative. It's
beyond fair use. It's so obviously fair use.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more than just fair use, actually. So it's fair use, but not in a predatory way. It's not like we're trying to remix your content in order to monetize and capitalize on the things that you're doing, because, as we said, we don't monetize the show in that sense. So we're not running ads on the show. The video itself won't make money. But what we're functionally doing is we're talking about your new single. We're talking about your new release as a service. It's a promotional service. You know what I mean? And when I say service, I don't mean we expect to bill you for that service. But the benefit of us talking about your new single is not for us. It's absolutely for you guys, for the band. It's absolutely for the label. It's absolutely for the publisher. We are helping. And it just puts us in this shitty situation where I don't want to do that anymore. I just don't want to help bands anymore. And that's shitty. And the reason it riled me up so much is because it happened to me again later in the week. But this was a manual claim. So it's worth pointing out the Guitar Souls ones were both automatic claims when uploading. But I got a claim on my Dream Theater video where I did the first listen through to the track and talked about it. Now, I have YouTube friends that have uploaded videos of the new Dream Theater song where they play the fucking audio, and they didn't get claimed. I have friends and peers who have uploaded transcriptions of the whole song from start to finish, where the original audio plays. They didn't get claimed. I have got friends who've covered, like Justin Hombach has done a full cover of the song. He did it the day it went up. His video didn't get claimed. But my video, where you don't hear any of the audio, got claimed, and it was done manually. That's really shady. And when I pointed this out in public, I found this weird thing where, you know, fans of the band or fans of Dream Theater, they just want to jump in and defend the band. Oh, it's not the band. It's not you need to go after the record label. And I'm like, well, you're absolutely right. But the only way to get the record labels to change is when the people that they work with, the bands, collectively go to them and say, we're not happy with you doing stuff like this. It looks bad on us when you do stuff like this. You know, this person is helping to promote our new single for free. You know, we're not using any marketing budget on this. And again, that is very much the focus when I do a video like that. I'm very clear. I will not play the audio in the stream. I want you to go and listen to the song yourself. Here's a link to the song on Spotify. Go and check it out, etc. It's very much about driving people towards the original recordings and getting money into the industry. So for it to be claimed is really It's pissing me off, and
it's shitty. There's no doubt about it. It's shitty as shit.
And it's not even a Rick Beato situation, is it? Where, or again, Rick is using like actual recordings. He's using master recordings that he doesn't own.
Mm-hmm.
I can totally get it. Like, yes, okay, I'm using video. I'm using the official music video, etc. I get it. That's not completely clear cut, but it's so obviously fair use.
It's a stupid hill to die on. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It puzzles me because really there's not a lot of money in marketing or that these days, and I mean a band as big as Dream Theater aren't exactly worrying about bringing in new fans.
Yeah.
But it's no like great secret that you have been in previous years a massive Dream Theater fan.
Oh, I pulled out my Dream Theater tattoo at the start of the video.
Do you know what I mean? So you've got that, and you're quite clearly paying homage to them.
Yeah.
For them to be like, nah, I can't do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, do you not like Dream Theater? Sorry, we're dog sitting at the moment, and Lola's quite excitable. Would you like to meet her?
Yeah, please.
Don't you do like me. This. That's Lola.
You just headbutt the microphone.
Look, what's this? Look. No.
No, she'd have none of it.
No, so she's a wee fidget.
Like,
not a very happy wee fidget. But
how old is she?
She's a wee fidget. I don't actually know, but I think she's about 7, maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
I'd be guessing though. But she's a wee grump. And she likes to growl. She's definitely a big dog and a wee body.
A grumpy wee dog. Cool.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Sorry, let's continue.
No, cool. So yeah, really it's not, I'll be clear, it's not really a plea to Dream Theater, because Dream Theater aren't watching this. It's a plea to the public, it's a plea to the masses, it's a plea to people that watch this. You guys should acknowledge, come on, be fair. You must be able to acknowledge that this is hurting bands doing stuff like this. You know, they're kicking themselves in the shins doing this. And sure, it's not Dream Theater hurting Dream Theater, it's their label, it's their publisher hurting them. But the only way that we change that is by, screaming and shouting loud enough to the bands where they, lay down the law with labels and lay down the law with publishers and say, come on guys, be a bit fucking smarter about this. Back in the day, we used to have to spend millions advertising a new record with a marketing budget when an album came out. And now, sure, we have to spend a lot of money still, but it's so much easier because we are allowing word of mouth from people that have big audiences. And my audience is, 40,000 subscribers on YouTube, not the biggest, but you've got, like Become the Night. His YouTube channel is so damn big. John Petrucci fucking appeared on it, did an interview on it. His channel's that big. So clearly John knows that it's a good place to be seen. Mm-hmm. Though I would point out that Become the Night's channel was one of the channels that used the actual recording of the song. And in his review of the new song, he absolutely panned it, said it was garbage, uninspired, etc. So,
did he get claimed?
Nope. Yeah, very, very, very strange. Such as
it's just you, because you're such a wido, constantly harassing people and giving them shit.
I mean, to be fair, it is entirely possible that because in my video I did get angry once, and the only reason I got angry was because about 3 minutes into the song, there was a fucking YouTube ad in the middle of the song, and I'm like, I was screaming at the camera like, who the fuck did this? Whose idea was this? That's manual. Somebody has turned those ads on and placed it there. Why? Why would you do that in the middle of a song? That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Anyway, we'll move on from that. Yeah.
That's it.
Okay, let's move on and talk about this Les Paul number 1. So the website for this is lespaul1.com. Les Paul's personal number 1, 1952 Les Paul Gold Top. Stunning instrument. And it's up for sale.
It's scary. I have a feeling this is going to reach some silly figures.
Let's drag this over and get it on screen a little bit so people can see it.
Let's do it.
Do you want to read for us?
The website's got quite a lot on it, so I will first of all read I suppose there's not really a big thing on the Facebook, but it says, check this out, this is on Gib Sunday one page, at Doyle Coils, coming soon to Christie's Auction House, New York City, on October 13th, 2021, during the famed Classic Week and the very special exceptional sale. the guitar that started it all. The Les Paul that changed the world. Les Paul's personal number one. Find out more at lespaul1.com. And then you've got some phenomenal pictures of it.
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous.
I'm currently scrolling through some pictures and I've got them on screen for people so they can see them, kind of. I guess the thing that's really interesting about this guitar is, he's clearly modified it a lot over the years.
Mm-hmm.
There's a jack socket on the front and on the side.
Mm-hmm.
Got those 2 chicken head knobs.
I think that the wooden bridge is a piezo. Possibly the second input.
Could well be. Yeah.
Because it's a contact microphone, it could be. That crazy cannot stay in tune trem.
Yeah, yeah. And it's got a wild, like almost Strat-like pickguard. So it can be wired on the top. Top wired.
Is that it's 2 scratch plates actually? It's the original scratch plate and one underneath it that goes round the underside of the
okay, yeah, I see that.
The pickup routes and stuff. And the top on it's just that perfect, rich golden brown, slightly crackled. Looks like a sheet of toffee, like fresh toffee, or caramel. Oh, beautiful.
Yeah. It's absolutely stunning, and I've seen a lot of buzz around this. People tagging guys like Joe Bonamassa and saying, I think this one's even out of the limit of someone like Joe Bonamassa. And Joe did acknowledge that, there's no way that he could afford this.
It goes on. Have they put it on?
It goes on sale on the 13th of October. So I guess I could try and have a look. Let's have a look.
Here's some. Now we're talking about the double scratch guard. If you scroll down on lespaul1.com on the page, there's a picture of it with both the guards off.
Yep.
And how, it's been routed.
But heavily.
The statement underneath is pretty cool. So above is Les's number one gold talk with one of Les Kaufman's vibrola units installed as per most of the vintage photographs. Yeah. The guitar was originally delivered to Les with a trapeze-style bridge, see photo below, and stock pickups. Les would of course alter, customise, tinker, experiment, modify, test, fix, and try many permutations ceaselessly. This guitar was the testbed for many of the experiments in those early years. Parts went on and came off, jacks were moved, switches and knobs constantly swapped out, pickups wound and tested, moved and altered. Notice the swimming pool route up the middle of the guitar exposing Les's early experiments with Q coils or air coils in order to buck the hum and increase the clarity and strength of his sound. Les was utilising humbucking all the way back in the early 1950s, way before the PAF humbucker was even invented. How cool is that?
Yeah.
Just ridiculous, man.
Yeah, there's no. I'm on Christie's website, and there's no estimate what this guitar is going to actually go for. But of course, we'll come back to you and we'll update the story as and when we have info on it.
It's just absolutely pimping.
What are we on? We're on August, so it's going to be a couple of months. But as soon as we get info, we'll definitely share this one because it's definitely interesting. I imagine it plays like dirt. You know what I mean?
I don't know, the photos made it look as if it was quite well set up.
It's a cool looking guitar, but you have to remember it's from a time before like high tech guitar setups were really a thing, if you know what I mean, like in terms of
I'm not suggesting that it gets some stainless steels and get plecked, don't worry.
Yeah.
Get another tune on it.
Like the idea of playability wasn't really a key part of guitar design until much later on, making things as playable as possible. So yeah, definitely, an amazingly cool piece of history. Oh no, okay, so I missed it. There is an estimate on here. The estimate is 100,000 to 150,000. I think it goes for more than that.
It'll go for way more than that if Joe Bonamassa's tap him out.
Yeah, I think
he could afford 100k, could afford 150k.
What do you think?
It's really weird, man, because it's such a niche thing, but at the same time, if you get the right, even 2 bidders that are chasing it, man, it could go to silly numbers. I am going to $500,000. Fuck it.
Okay. Yeah.
500,000. I think it might go for in that ballpark. I
was going to go between 350 and 450. So we're not far off. I think there's definitely the potential for it to go higher than that. You're absolutely right. You get 2 people that are interested in it, and absolutely why not.
And I would think there'll be a lot of people who'll be interested in this. If you look at some of the guitars that have been picked up, even just in the last kind of 12 months, we've been talking about people picking up guitars and spending crazy money.
Yeah, and especially with an estimate of like 100 to 150. Sure, don't get
Neil
me wrong.
Sean's guitar went for about that.
Well, it went for more than that, and that's kind of the point. Like when you look at someone like let's say John 5 as an example, owns an astonishing amount of Telecasters, but he was a big fan of Les Paul, and he often tells stories of getting to play with Les Paul, etc. If John 5 sees that the price on this is 100 to 150, there's nothing to stop him getting involved on this by, you know, if he doesn't have that kind of cash sitting around, liquidate some of his assets to own a piece of history. He's a collector. Add Joan Bonamassa into the mix, add a couple of non-guitar players but that are, you know, collectors. Of course, it's super niche because it's Les Paul, and while he's an innovator and an important part of the guitar scene, his fan base is probably limited to guitar players, more so than someone like, you know, Neil Sean.
But I would say on top of that, we're talking about collectability.
Sure.
In terms of being something that has a timepiece and is unique and has a history, so therefore has sentimental value even to somebody that wasn't involved with the guitar. I think that's probably like the golden egg that you would find in my mind. But like 150,000, like that is a reasonable number for any genuine potential collectors that have a consortium or whatever could fire that together through loans and whatever else, and they'd have a sound investment in my mind.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, I think that's all we really have to say on that one.
Yes, this is the only time we will actively praise Gibson.
A very different
even though we're not
Gibson.
doing that.
Yeah, it's a very
even though we're not doing that.
Okay, so I'm gonna get on and read a bit of fan mail for you. So this is Bravo Right Rifle wrote in and said, "Hey gents, the Dimebag estate has ended up. Sorry, there's a grammatical error there. Has ended their partnership with Dean Guitars. The full court documents are on dimebagdarrell.com and a brief rundown on their Instagram. Thoughts on the future of Dean, especially after so many players left recently, such as Dave Mustaine, Rusty Cooley, and Kerry King. Well, Kerry King didn't leave; he joined. Is that right? Yeah, he joined. Should another company build the Dime MLs, Washburn, Solar, Wild Audio, or should they start a Dime brand? Appreciate your opinions." This was always going to be a big story.
Of course it was, man. Do you want to answer this, or do you want to read the story first?
We'll go with the story, but before we do that, I just want to. All of this stuff is timed really badly, isn't it? Because it was Dimebag's birthday, 2 days ago?
Something like that, aye. And
I saw one picture of him posted. Well, obviously, saw more than one, but one in particular kind of stuck in my mind, and it was the controversial one, right? And it's him with a Confederate flag guitar, and it got me thinking. It got me really thinking, that guitar, because as you know, for many years, I have always been one to advocate for reasons why one might fly a Stars and Bars flag, and that being maybe you grew up as a like I did. Well, I didn't grow up a massive Pantera fan, but I know you grew up a massive Pantera fan, right?
Not so much grew up, man. I got into Pantera when Dime died.
Right. Okay.
Like I got told about it, and I hadn't really heard the band. Someone was like, "I'm so gutted hearing about what happened," and I was like, "No way!" And went and googled it, and Cowboys for Hell, and it was like, okay, right, I could probably be into this.
Sure.
Well, I suppose that's still pretty young, man. When was that? 2008?
2004.
2004? Fucking hell, so I'd have been 14.
Yeah.
Aye, that's about right.
Yeah.
I don't think there'd be a single person who wouldn't say when they heard it they weren't shocked.
Yeah. So
it's a horrible story.
For someone like yourself, like it's entirely possible to see something like a Confederate flag and associate it with Dimebag, because he had it a lot. And for me,
it's on album covers and everything for Pantera.
Yeah. So for me, of course, it would be Leonard Skinner, who I was a big fan of, big fan of Leonard Skinner growing up. But as time has gone by, I've kind of walked that back, and it's not that I've changed my mind. It's that I've realised there's no convincing people of this. They are just of the opinion that it doesn't matter what reason you have. The history of that particular flag means that flying it could be seen as a support of racism. Why does Dimebag get a pass then?
I don't think he does.
He absolutely seems to. He's not derided en masse by the metal scene. I don't get it. I'll put it another way. Like if I were to change, and God, I'd never do this because I don't care. If I were to change my profile picture on Facebook to a Confederate flag, that would be me finished. That would be the end. God, why on earth would I do that? But I think we'd acknowledge that would absolutely just be the end. No career, that's you. You're done. Ostracized from society, because people can tell you your intent. People can tell you why you would do something like that. They would decide why you did something like that. And I just feel that, and I don't know if I think that Dime was a racist or anything. I just feel that when it comes to Dimebag, it does seem to get a bit of a free pass for that flag. So just throwing that out there.
That's fair. I mean, thinking on it, I think Pantera as a band got a free pass on a few things, but I think it's because they were from like country boy, Texas South, exactly. But I suppose if you're going to really nail Dime and Rex and Vinny to the cross, as a fucking Phil always gets, they were in Rebel Meets Rebel with David Allan Coe, who has got some very questionable songs.
So definitely a strange one, and he always gets a pass because, and this is really I think the kind of theme of this story, because everybody knows how loyal Pantera and Dimebag fans are. I mean, ultimately, Dimebag was killed by a Pantera fan because they're that fucking loyal to the band. So let's talk about this lawsuit.
Yes. So, Dimebag Darrell's estate sues Dean Guitars, and then we've got a small follow-up after that as well. So this was 4 days ago. I'm reading this from GuitarWorld.com. The lawsuit marks the end of the late Pantera guitarist's relationship with the brand, which was rekindled shortly before his tragic murder in 2004. Kind of leads into the question we got there, whether it should go to Washburn or whatever, because Washburn did have a few of the signatures. I think they're actually called the Dime. There's a Dime 333, and that's where the Dime slime came from and stuff. Some of them are pretty minted, and they're worth a fortune now. Anyway, the estate of late Pantera guitarist Dimebag Darrell has sued Dean Guitars. Rita Haney, Abbott's longtime girlfriend and the trustee of his estate, announced the estate's lawsuit in an Instagram post, where she also detailed why she chose to end Dean's relationship with the guitarist, which initially ran from 1990 to 1994, before being re-established in 2004, shortly before Abbott's tragic murder at a Columbus, Ohio nightclub. After much consideration, it's with great sadness that I announce the long-standing relationship between Dimebag and Dean Guitars is over, Haney wrote. Unfortunately, we were forced to file a lawsuit against Dean Guitars, Haney continued, writing that it was necessary for us to end Dime's endorsement of Dean Guitars to continue to honour and celebrate his legacy the way he deserves and in the way he had laid it out. We did not make this decision lightly, and it's with a heavy heart that we share this news with you, Dime's loyal fans. As you know, after signing the deal with Dean Guitars in 2004, Dime was ecstatic to finally be working with the one and only Mr. Dean Zielinski, who's been gone from the company since 2008. Darrell had voiced several times like it was like going home where he belonged. It was something he was enormously proud of. I've spent days rereading through all of Darrell's guitar notes, lists, letters and drawings, some not yet released. Knowing Darrell's wishes and seeing them written down on paper once again after all these years solidifies that he would not have stayed. I want to see Dime's words followed through and to have his legacy reach the level he intended. I made several attempts to amicably settle our dispute with Dean Guitars. However, it's become clear to me that Dimebag's relationship with Dean Guitars had come to an end when the new CEO of Dean Guitars told me that Dime had been dead for 16 years and they could not make the money they once did. So basically he's used up. She's put in brackets, and then continued on to tell me I should go somewhere else. Well, we will. Moving forward, our goal will be to ensure the rightful and respectful celebration of Dime's legacy and the indelible mark he and his music made on the world. It's with absolute conviction that we say that we can no longer happen whilst continuing to partner with Dean Guitars. As fans, we hope that you feel as we do. Our love for Dime has not wavered in 16 plus years since his passing, and he's still as relevant to us today despite what we have been told by Dean Guitars. We want to capture the spirit of the deal that was discarded by Dean Guitars, like it should have always been done. In this spirit, we soon hope to have more positive news to share with you regarding the future of Dime Guitars. In a statement shared with Guitar World, Dean and CEO and President Evan Rubinson disputed Haney's claims, saying, "We've always treated Dime and his brother Vinny with the utmost respect and loyalty. We've enjoyed a long-standing 17-year relationship with Dime and Vinny and continue that relationship with Vinny's estate on the drum side. We're shocked and saddened to see the actions of Miss Haney has taken after both the Abbott brothers have tragically passed away, and we wish her the best in her future endeavours. However, it's unfortunate that Miss Haney has allowed her unrealistic demands and accusations to dictate the future of the Dimebag Darrell legacy in the absence of Dime's immediate family." Dean Guitars is proud to have played a role in ensuring Dime's legacy not only survived but thrived over the past 17 years. We have stood by the estate through good and bad. Miss Haney's claims, across the board, are baseless, without any merit, and not grounded in reality. We will allow the full truth to come out as the legal process takes its course. Only 7 months ago, Dean announced it would reissue the Dimebag Darrell signature Dime Razorback Rust electric guitar, and more than a dozen Dimebag Darrell signature Deans remain listed on the company's website. We'll bring you more updates to this story as soon as we have them.
So the second story that we have is essentially that part at the bottom there, the Evans update, Evan Rubinson's update. I've done as much due diligence as I could on this one.
Mm-hmm.
I've sat and read through the lawsuit. It's like 38 pages, and with the plan of not writing or doing a video on it, a bit of a rage time video, because I think that you and I have both not had the most positive things to say about Rita and the way she deals with Dimebag's estate. Would that be fair?
I think everybody who's involved in Dime's estate has acted in really bad faith to what Dime probably would have wanted, if I'm totally honest. The Dime amps, the multiple signature guitars that he never played, like, just get a rest, man.
Yeah.
So to answer your question, yes.
The reason I didn't do a video is because obviously the lawsuit is very one-sided. It's Rita Haney's story, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it could be 100% true. It comes down to a lot of things, and a lot of them do seem very clear-cut. Like, potentially she could very well be in the right. If I give you a basic rundown of the story, what happened is Dime made a deal with Dean, which would be considered the original endorsement agreement.
Mm-hmm.
That deal ran its course. Obviously, Dimebag died very shortly after he signed the deal.
And still made Dean a shitload of money.
Yeah, well, she actually goes. In the lawsuit, she states that the guitars sold $6 million worth of guitars in the first year, so it made Dean a lot of money. It made them relevant. I would also happily argue.
I don't know if I would say relevant, but definitely much bigger as a platform than they'd ever been. Because they had Michelangelo Batio at that point, a couple other players as well. So it's not like they were unknown, but you're right. Like,
but
from 80 shredders with mullets to the face of metal.
Yeah. Then after the original endorsement agreement expired, Vinnie Paul was in charge of the estate at that point. Mm-hmm. So he made a new deal, and as part of that deal, he took a lower royalty. Now, whether or not he should have taken a lower royalty is up for discussion. But the reality of the situation is he did accept the lower royalty. I would happily argue that it makes sense for your royalty to go down over a period of time like that, because while Rita has done her best to paint it in as negative light as possible, and a lot of fans have taken issue with the accusation that Evan has said Dime's been dead for 17 years, and then her throwing in that emotional so he's used up type thing. But the reality of the situation is, to a degree, yes, one's star power diminishes over time. That's inevitable. That just happens. He's not out there playing the guitars, so inevitably his star power is going to dwindle a little bit over time. Now, it might be 1%, it might be 2%, it might be 10%. We don't know. But because she didn't get, that's kind of the point, she didn't give those numbers. She was happy to give out the number $6 million. That was the only number she included in her lawsuit. $6 million is how many they sold in the first year. She didn't say how much the original royalty was, and she didn't say what it was changed to when Vinnie took a second deal. Either way, that second deal that Vinnie took ran its course again, and then it came time to renegotiate another deal for another period of time. At this point, Rita Haney was in charge of the estate, and she wasn't happy with either what Vinnie Paul had done or the way Evan was wanting to do business moving forward. So I imagine, and she says it, that he wanted to give me an insultingly low royalty, and there's every potential that that's the case. They couldn't agree to a deal, and that's when a lawsuit was filed. There are a couple of other things that are definitely in this that are interesting. There's a lot of claims around photos. So this is actually news to me. Part of Dime's original deal was he would be paid a lump sum by Dean Guitars anytime he was featured on the cover of any magazines featuring a Dean guitar with a prominent Dean logo, that's interesting. I guess that's an interesting way to make money. To me, I would just figure that part of your endorsement obligations, not to say it's in my interest to put that logo prominently in the photo because then I'll get paid more. but she's alleging that some of those payments were never made. I'd be amazed to find out how much money those that lump sum was agreed as. Again, that was redacted in the lawsuit. She didn't want to share that information. But again, wanted to share that $6 million. And one of the other points that she pointed out is that the endorsement deal with Dime expired. And this is kind of damning. The endorsement deal with Dime expired, maybe 8 months ago now. And after the deal expired, there was a sell-off period of 6 months where Dean have the right to continue advertising and selling the guitars until they've sold up all the stock that they have. But that 6-month period has now ended, so they shouldn't be manufacturing, they shouldn't be selling, they shouldn't be advertising. That one is the kind of one that feels a little bit clear-cut to me, if that is the case, and I'd be surprised if she's wrong about that. It doesn't seem like Dean has a high leg to stand on there, but of course, we don't know that that's the case. We're just taking it. And here's where things get really interesting for me. I didn't do a video because it seemed very clear-cut, but then I remembered that this is all just one person's side of the story. And Evan seems very happy for stuff to come out in court. Now, I've reached out to Evan on Twitter. We have been DMing a little bit, and he is going to be sending me some emails with as much information as he can give me, bearing in mind that there's some things that he won't be able to talk about, of course. So hopefully I can bring you a little bit more information over the coming weeks. But the thing I found really interesting in this is when you read through the court documents, there's a letter as part of evidence, submitted in evidence, from Rita's lawyers to Dean, talking about, it's kind of, I assume it's the last letter that was sent out before they decided they couldn't reach any sort of amicable agreement. And in that letter, it almost feels very threaty. And when I say threaty, she talks about how loyal the fan base is. She talks about how rabid the fan base is. She talks about how, the fan base can essentially make or break. The last thing that I would want for you is a PR disaster. This is all in the lawyer's letter that was sent to Dean's CEO. And she said that while we can't come to an amicable agreement on this, I would still like us to come to some sort of agreement for us to part ways on. And if that's the case, then I'm happy. And I can't quote this because I can't get the documents up because dimebagdarrow.com is down at the moment. But she said, I'm happy to come up with some sort of story that will paint the parting of ways as an amicable one. Essentially saying,
fuck you, pay me.
Pay me off and I'll make this not painful for you. That's how it read to me. And we're talking
Rita Chapman.
We're talking about a woman here, or we're talking about a band here, who absolutely have rabid, loyal fans. And Evan has been very vocal about the fact that she's done this with slanderous comments about me in order to get me death threats and shit, and he has been getting them. And he's actually also alleged that he's never received any paperwork of this lawsuit. He's not seen this lawsuit. He's trying to tell his story currently is the only place this lawsuit exists is on her website. So it feels like what's been done here is maximal PR damage to Dean Guitars. And something about that feels very poor taste to me. Dimebag might have left, not of his own accord. And his missus is doing this on his behalf. Dave Mustaine left and didn't do this. Michelangelo left and didn't do this.
But here's the real kicker. They left and they had control of leaving. Rita Haney is leaving because she wants more money. Alleging they've made money off of Dime, but really they should be sorting his legacy. But the legacy is that you want more money. So what you're actually saying is that I want all the value of Dimebag's name and trade, and then trying to paint Dean out, who might not be totally clear-cut, whitewashed, holier than thou, as being bad guys for having made all that money for the estate already.
Yeah. It feels really shady, because if the goal is legacy, when I was talking to a friend about this the other day, I used my dad as an example, but you know what, I'm going to use you as an example. So let's say this podcast continues to pick up and people are really enjoying it, and for whatever reason, Perry the lunatic decides to launch a Guitar Souls signature guitar, a Mike McLaughlin signature guitar, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then for whatever reason, you die tragically.
Thanks.
If the worst came to the worst, and Perry said to me, I can't really afford that royalty anymore. That doesn't really work for me anymore. So we're going to discontinue the guitar. I would be so quick to say, keep the guitar up. We don't want a royalty. What's more important to me is Mike's legacy. I want that guitar to exist for as long as humanly possible, because that is the pillar, that is the flag flying of the pinnacle of his output. You know what I mean? That's something that I'd absolutely would be the case, because the legacy is more important to me than the money. I don't know how you feel about that though.
Aye, I think that's a really nice way to put it. A really, really nice way to put it. Thanks. I'm glad that if I die, you won't just instantly forget me.
Well, what I'm essentially saying there is if you die, I won't try and make any money out of it.
But you should.
Or let me rephrase that. I won't try and make sure your family get any money out of it.
They don't need any. They're fine.
They'll be fine, yeah.
Aye, I think there's... But really, Dean have already gave so much time for that legacy to grow and be continued. Years. Exactly. So
the most prominent Dime merchandise is going to be those guitars. So
100%.
Yeah.
Like the Dime for Hell, I think, was probably their biggest seller, and that's the one that's modelled off Dime's actual guitar.
Yeah.
Or the lightning bolt one that he played. I just find it really bizarre, man. It's like infighting over money.
Yeah,
sadly,
it strikes me as super distasteful. One of the other aspects that appears in the lawsuit is Dean filed trademark applications on a lot of Dime's guitar shapes, which apparently they didn't have any legal right to do. This was done shortly after Dime died, and there very much could be a case of, well, you did this because Dime wasn't around to protect himself, and Vinnie Paul wasn't up to date on what was going on. Maybe you shouldn't have done this. But I would absolutely argue that that was the right thing to do, because not doing that would result in one thing and one thing only. Every other guitar brand in the world making some sort of Dime-looking knockoff. All the cheap import brands, they'd all have Dime-looking knockoff guitars, and that would have hurt the sale of Dimebag's guitars. That trademark needed to be registered. It would be shady if she decided to go to another brand and wanted to release the same shape guitars and they wouldn't allow that. That would be pretty shady. But registering those trademarks was something that would have needed to be done anyway to protect the potential financial outcome of that of said designs.
So the fact of the matter is, like, no other brand did the AML except Dean from back there anyway, so they kind of had the right to take that. Was it not the finishes on the Dime ones that they had the... There
are lots of hand-drawn images that Dime drew of the body shape and things like that, and apparently they should be his designs, especially with things like the Razorback. That's...
the Razorback, definitely. I'm talking about the original AML.
Yeah,
because those models were out before he had any influence in it.
There was also
we ended up playing them.
The Washburn M3, I think it was. I think they called it the M3, maybe. Whatever the Washburn pointy guitar was, they own the trademark on that now. Dean owned the trademark on that now. And again, when you think about it, that makes sense though, doesn't it? Because the last thing you would want is you having a range of Dimebag guitars and then Washburn releasing a bunch of guitars that don't have Dimebag's name on them, but they're the shape of guitars that he was playing back when he was with Washburn.
Well, they did have that anyway, because they had obviously his Washburn signatures before he moved back to Dean.
Yeah, but I mean after. So for the long period that Dean were selling his signature model, the last thing you'd want is Washburn going, we can't put Dime's name on a guitar anymore, but see this guitar over here? We're going to call this the Crime Time Slime. It would hurt the Dean sales. It would absolutely hurt the Dean sales. So, protecting those trademarks as much as possible is just kind of the best thing to do. So, yeah, the reason I didn't make a Rage Time video on this is because I can't be conclusive about this one way or the other. If everything Rita's saying is true here, then Dean have been doing some shady shit, and it's entirely possible. Let me be clear, it is entirely possible. We know that, as we pointed out, they've severed relationships with Rusty Cooley, and they've severed relationships with Michelangelo Batio, they've severed relationships with Dave Mustaine. They've made a relationship with Kerry King, which is a strange one. I don't think that they're being run as well as maybe they should be in terms of artist relations. But also at the same time, I'm very aware that every story has two sides, and Dean is a big company, a big company. And it would amaze me, because Rita's telling of this story is so clear cut, she's so clear cut in the right. It would amaze me if a company as big as Dean, with all their lawyers, would just take all of these risks that were so obvious to prove. It would be so easy to prove that they'd broken contract agreements. Seem very strange if they would do that. And if they have done that, then I guess they do deserve to go out of business or they certainly need better lawyers because they've shown incompetence. I just don't know if I believe it.
It's just, in my mind, it's too much like the Les Paul sale. It's just suck it and see. You just need to wait and see what happens.
Yeah, but the tragic thing about something like this is we probably won't see what happens because this will get settled out of court. It'll absolutely be settled out of court. And kind of going back to Rita's lawyer's letter, we'll probably get a public announcement, a couple of months from now from Rita Haney saying that we've reached an agreement with Dean Guitars. They've made right on everything and we'd like to really thank them for everything they've done for Dime over the last 17 years. I regret the way I handled this situation, but they're a great bunch of guys that really care about Dime and his legacy. And they post that and they take a big, $400,000 payment to post something like that. It just feels a little bit extorty,
Mm-hmm.
Because the PR damage, I think, has already been done on this one. Like, when you see people talking about this, very few people are going to go, I wonder what Dean's side of this story is.
As soon as that story comes out, that's it.
Yeah, it's all very much like, oh, that's Dean buried.
It's, and the sad truth is that's kind of how it is in the current journalistic world of social media. Like, whoever strikes first wins by default, almost.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but...
Well, also there's that inherent kind of big corporation versus individual type thing. If Dean had a struck first on this, it might come across as some sort of bullying tactic. So, but I think in terms of financial power, Dean are the big power here. But in terms of social sway, Rita Haney's probably the big hitter on this one because she controls how Dime's fans get to perceive this situation, or she certainly influences how they get to perceive this situation. So,
well, I mean, she's made that quite clear when she had told them.
So let's get on to that question then. So the question was, should another company build the Dime MLs, Washburn, Solar, Wild Audio, or should they start a Dime brand? There is only one answer to this, and that is it can only be Washburn. I'm sure you agree with me on that.
I was going to say nobody, because quite honestly, I think personally, Dime's legacy has been there already. Like, I know him for playing Deans. I know about the Dimes, the Razorbacks and stuff. Like, I know he had the Washburns. You've had 17 years of sales. Everybody has had 17 years of sales at Dime's expense, at Dime's death's expense. Anything more, I think, is definitely verging on distasteful and not fitting to his legacy. In my mind, I'm just a bit.
Well, back in Pantera heyday when he was playing those Washburn guitars, there will still be a lot of people that are probably devastated that they never got to get their hands on one of those. And maybe if Washburn did a kind of limited run anniversary version of some of those guitars, that would be a nice thing for the fans. And what we can confidently say is that Dime, let's not necessarily say would endorse that action, but he did endorse those guitars.
He did, okay, yep.
Whereas Solar, all right, sure, Ola England, very respectful to Dime's legacy. Clearly a big fan. He put a great cover up just recently, Dime cover.
Same to the Gates.
Yeah. Sure, but Dime couldn't possibly sign off on what Ola's making. So, no, it would be distasteful. It would not be in the interest of someone's legacy. Wild Audio. Zach obviously had a great relationship with Dimebag. They were great friends. But same principle. Dime couldn't sign off on anything Zach would release. And starting a Dime brand? Fuck no. Same idea. If the man can't sign off on it, then all you're getting is his is his girlfriend signing off on it. You're not getting Dimebag's endorsement. You're getting Rita Haney's endorsement with a Dimebag mask on. And that should be worthless to the fans. In the same way that when the Hendrix estate allowed Gibson to release Hendrix Strats, no one supported that. And it should absolutely be the same here. And my concern is it won't be the same here because, coming full circle and going back to talking about the flag, Dimebag's fans just seem to give everything a pass. It doesn't seem to matter to them. But I feel that they should be turning on Rita a little bit on this and saying, you are fucking this up for the man that you claim to love. His legacy is in those fucking guitars, and removing them from existence hurts said legacy.
I want to see if that is the case, man, because I don't remember there being any real big cry for there not to be those Dime amps. So we might not get what we want. However, time will tell. What does everybody else think? please put it in the chat. We'll be here for Monday Night Guitar Geek Club. Well, I won't be at work. I'm maybe try and pop in for a wee half an hour if I can. But we want to know what's happening. We want to know what's going on and what you think.
I'm getting the distinct impression that Mike's trying to end the show here. He's had enough of me.
No, not
doing
at
my
all.
whinging routine. I should also add, it was really nice for you to start the show last week. That was...
Did you enjoy that?
Yeah.
I just thought I'd put everybody on their toes.
I was still a little knocked for 6 for it, but yeah. To be fair, I don't think it was all that much more that we can say on this one. But yeah, I wouldn't think it would be distasteful if Washburn released some dime guitars.
If they are reissues of all the models that he did originally endorse, okay. Or even like a special limited run of the Reinventing the Steel one, you know, the tread plate guitar.
Yep.
Like that without the Reinventing the Steel up the neck, or you can get that as stickers to go away, or something like that. Like something that's like, right, okay, we'll do a solid tribute to him.
Yeah.
But
something like that would be cool. But I don't think that's what will happen.
No.
And the reason that won't happen is because Dime's legacy to Rita Haney is how much money he can make for her. And
it's just going to be MLs with Rita Haney's face plastered on the front of it.
The way that she will make the most money would probably be talking to Zakk Wylde, getting him to put her in contact with whoever his contacts are. I believe it's the Schecter. Schecter's Indonesian factory build the Wylde audio guitars.
I'm pretty sure you're right, because I'm sure one turned up and I saw it posted online with the Schecter sticker on the back, or the stamp on the back of the neck.
So if she did that and hooked her up with that, then Dime, she could release a Dime range of guitars, maximize the profit, maximize the royalty. I would speculate that's what she does.
She goes with Zakk Wylde.
No, she uses Zakk as a contact to set up Dime guitars. And she'll release her own brand of guitars. And she will whore out Dime's endorsement on them. A brand of guitars that he never played.
Either that, or try and get Zakk to sign off on it with Wild Audio and potentially split the money with him.
Yeah. Yeah, because Zack's never
for
going
the
to say
sake of
that his royalty's not, he's not valuable.
I just mean, I think she would probably be jumping in at the deep end to think she can just start her own brand of guitars. Whereas if the easiest route is, look, you've already got a company doing this, let's go for it, you were a close friend.
Yeah. But that's kind of the point, isn't it? The easiest way to do this is to go to a big company that has a big distribution network and lots of money and lots of experience in building guitars. Someone like Dean, maybe. And yeah, when you do something like that, they're going to take the lion's share of the money. Of course they are, because they're doing most of the work. You're just signing off on the endorsement. But you make a bit of money.
They're doing all of the work, you mean, Levi?
Yeah. What's the fucking problem? Rita Haney, you sound like a real fucking asshole. I'll be honest.
Sounds like you're trying to end the show.
Yeah. I am. I absolutely am. So on that note, did you know? This show is brought to you by our friends over at Ormsby Guitars. We want to remind you guys that there is still time to get involved in the upcoming Run 16 guitars. Those include these incredible hypes available in 5 new colours. That Dragon Burst is absolutely stunning. You can also get your hands on one of the Metal X's, again available in a range of finishes. My personal pick has to be these headless Vs, absolutely outrageously cool. Imagine one of those in an 8-string, I absolutely love these. And finally, the Ando San signature model, available in 6, 7 and 8-string availability. Go and check them out at Ormsby's website right now. This show is also brought to you by our friends over at Rev Amplification, a one-stop shop for all of your tonal needs. Head on over to their website to check out their range of lunchbox amplifiers, both the D20 and G20, 20-watt amplifiers with built-in 2-notes torpedo technology so you can record direct into your computer. If that doesn't suit, you can also check out one of their highly popular G2, 3 and 4 pedals, giving you that trademark Rev tone in a stomp box. Incredible tones, I use these myself. And finally, you may notice in the back of these videos a Rev Generator 120, an absolute masterclass in modern electric guitar tones. Check it out at their site now. So, as always, a huge thanks to our friends and family over at both Ormsby Guitars, Rev Amplification, and of course, Vinny over at VPix. Go and check those guys out. I wonder how long it'll be before Rita Haney reaches out to Perry and says, Perry, Dime always really kind of looked up to and admired your builds. We'd love to put out a Dime brand of guitars with Ormsby.
That'd be interesting.
That might change our opinion.
Completely far-fetched.
Yeah.
I don't see it happening, Levi. Let's put it that way.
I don't see it happening either. I don't see it happening. I would be really interested to know what Perry's thoughts on something like that would be, of course, though. So maybe I'll send him a message.
True.
Because it's a hard one, isn't it? Like that whole idea of Evan saying to her, Dimebag's been dead for 17 years. Sure, that's obviously gonna hurt hearing something like that. But you have to ask yourself, what is it that someone's trying to say when they say something like that? And we know what they're trying to say. It's not trying to say, ha, he's been dead for 17 years, hope that hurts. It's, he's not as valuable as he once was. He doesn't command the same marketing power that he once did. And therefore, we can't really justify giving away 30% of the sales, or whatever the royalty happens to be. Whereas back in the day, especially the year he died, you know, for her to point out they sold $6 million of guitars, $6 million of dime guitars in that first year. Ooh, that is a lot of money.
A hell of a lot of money. And then whatever else they would have made on, because I'm sure they had other merchandise.
Yeah, straps and pickups and tons of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, it was Seymour Duncan that was doing the pickups, remember?
Did Dean not have a set of? Because one of the things in Rita's lawsuit is that they only have the right to sell guitars and only guitars. And currently they have things like pickups and stuff listed on their website, pickups and straps and things.
I don't remember pickups. I always remember the Dean models that I picked up that were like MLs are meant to be dimes had a dime bucker in the bridge, which is a Seymour Duncan, and I think some of them had a Bill Lawrence in the neck.
He still he still has the Dimebag set pickup from Seymour Duncan.
Aye.
Maybe there's a budget Dean set. Have a look. Yeah, the DMT guitar pickups are these? No, they're just called DMTs. Well, again, when dimebagdarrell.com goes up again and we can actually look at the lawsuit, currently it's not a safe website to visit apparently, so not much we can do in terms of checking the. You
can't even get connected to it, so it'd be a waste of time.
Yeah. Anything you'd like to say to close the show out, Mike?
Thanks very much for being here. I'm sorry we didn't have much to chat on. Hopefully you guys have been entertained. If you want to support us, like, share, subscribe. You can help us out if you want to go to buy me a coffee. Link us down below. Send us some fan mail, GsolesFanMail@gmail.com. And I think the Teespring link will probably be down at the bottom as well. And most importantly, leave some comments and hopefully there's some chatter of what you think about the whole Dime Estate versus Dean nonsense might be.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let us know.
So,
interested here. Yeah. So, yeah. Other than that, please do check us out and buy me a coffee. Check out the Teespring link. Send us some fan mail, all that good stuff. And until next time, Mike.
Please send us some prayers so we don't die.